Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another Is It Worth the Grind video. Today we are looking at the French heavy line, so is the 50B worth the grind? New format today, so leave your feedback in the comments, and you can skip to whatever part of the video you want by clicking on the links. So let's get in the action. Let's start with the tier 5, the BDR. For me it's one of the best tier 5 heavy tanks, but the stock grind on this tank is holy shit really bad. 75mm guns, both of them are quite shitty. The second one at least is somewhat competitive with the 100 penetration. The first one is just utter junk. This is something you get on tier 3 fucking mediums, well, lights I guess. But regardless, the things you need to get the gun is tracks, turret, and then the second gun. You definitely want to get this gun, and you definitely don't want to skip this gun to get the ARL faster. This is going to be the stock gun on the ARL as well, so this is an absolute must to get. The engines are quite important as well. I'm pretty sure this gets shared with some other tanks as well, the TD. But if you don't have the TD, you'll have to grind it. It's not very expensive and it gives quite a boost, so the engine, I would recommend getting it as well. And then get the ARL 44. The R44, the stock gun, you get to play with the 19mm right away, which is a good thing, but the bad thing is that this stock turret, known as doghouse, known as coffin or whatever, is really bad, and you want to get rid of this as fast as you can. It will require 6.1k experience, and it's possible that you need tracks. I'm not 100% sure on that, but once you get the second turret, you have quite a bit of choice in guns here. So the second 90mm is the gun you need to get just to progress. You don't want to get this tank before you get at least two of these guns. Two of the guns you definitely need is this 90mm and this 90mm. This gun is going to be used throughout the next two tiers as well, so this is something you need to get for sure. This gun, some people say it's better on the tier 6, on the ARL44. I personally found myself using this 90mm. I mean, it has ultra high penetration for tier 6, really bad aiming time, so the gun length drive accuracy is not perfect as well, but this gun is even worse in that regard. So I would use this one. You could go for the 105, it's all up to you. The tank is it has mixed reviews. Most of the people tend to love it or hate it. I was on the side that loved it when I had one of my best games in it when I was a noob, but these days, I mean, it's alright. The gun is punchy enough, the DPM is quite low, but nothing you can do about that. Next one, AMX M4 45. Tier 7, AMX M4. It doesn't get any gun upgrades, but to mount the guns you already were using, you need to get the turret, and to get the turret you need to get either the enhanced suspension or you need to get the tracks. I mean, it's your choice. This 19mm is not horrible. Obviously it's worse than this one. The same rate of fire, just worse penetration, but it's doable. It's not like you want to kill yourself. You can use this 105 as well. I mean, that's a choice you have. The aiming time on this is actually not horrible this time, so you could use this to get the turret and the tracks and the turret and the gun. Engine wise, you definitely want to get at least the second engine. The third engine is going to be the top engine on the 5100, but since the 5100 is so much better of a tank, you might want to grind this engine on that tank and skip this for now. That said, let's move to the first autoloader. At tier 8, we get to the AMX 5100, probably the best, or one of the best tier 8 heavy tanks in the game. Gets a autoloader with 6 shells for 300 damage each, which is insanely good. Something you need to know, all of these guns are autoloading. Even though this is the same gun the AMX used in this tank, it's autoloading. It has 6 shells as well, and much faster reload than on the 100mm. But what you need to know, tracks would be nice to get, and as I said, the engine, if you're a really cheap bastard, you can skip this engine, work around with this one. The difference is not that huge, and just get the 5120, and the 5120 gets, this one has its stock engine, so you're gonna get it for free. I would recommend keeping the 5100. Is used at 7 versus 7, and it is regarded as one of the best tier 8, so it's definitely a keeper in my book, and I would definitely hold on this one. But that said, let's get to the 5120. At tier 9, we get the 5120, which is a real powerhouse once you get that 120mm gun. The gun you can use right away is this 100mm, so basically it's a 50-100, one tier higher. The bad thing about that is that you need tracks to mount the 120mm, and 120mm makes all the difference on this tank. I mean, this tank is what 50B used to be, minus like 7-second reload. It is really not, the difference between this and the 50B is really not that big. The engine wise, I probably would recommend to get this engine this time around. I mean, you're gonna grind for a lot of experience. You might as well get that engine and make that grind easier for you. And the radios, I really don't care about. I mean, it doesn't really matter. And yeah, 5120, one of the best. I really like this tank. Would say it's second after the. Well, it's kind of hard to argue now. I mean, I think the 50B is a bit better than the 5120, but the 5120 is really close. And after that being said, let's move to the 50B. So that was the grind. Is the 50B worth it? Well, hell yes. There's two reasons for that. The grind is actually pretty good. Apart from tier 7, all the tanks are at least good, and if not really good, as the tier 8 and 9. And the 50B, after it got buffed, is actually quite fun and pretty good as well. That being said, let's look into the armor. To the surprise of a lot of people, 50B has probably the best frontal hull of any tier 10 heavy tank, which is funny as hell when you have this giant weak spot called the turret on top of it. But yeah, the hull is amazingly good. This hull can bounce like everything that's being shot at it. It's angled and the armor is ridiculously thick here, so that is something you want to avoid. The lower plate is an auto bounce, so don't bother. This is the only spot on the hull you can pen that is actually a weak spot. Upper part is a ricochet zone as well. These green zones obviously are penetration, but then again, why would you bother with this if you can just shoot the turret, which is a giant weak spot to begin with. Side armor 30, no side scraping in this tank at all. This is always gonna be auto pen, so don't even bother. And the rest of the armor is just snacks for Artie. If you get shot by Artie and you don't get hit frontally, you're gonna take full damage, and you have to get used to that, so that's really annoying. You really want to dodge Artie as much as you can in this tank because it hurts a lot. Let's compare the soft stats to the 57 heavy before we get to the replay. Aiming circle spread is worse after shooting and on the move. The after shooting part might be changed after the 57 gets nerfed, but this is these stats are worse just because the 50B is so much faster than the 57 heavy. When it comes to mobility, turn resistance is really similar. There's almost no difference at all. The thing that is a difference here though is the power to weight ratio, which is so much better than on the 57 heavy. So when it comes to mobility, the 50B just wrecks 57 heavy, but sadly, that's almost the only part where the 50B wrecks the 57 heavy, even though the aiming time now is much better. But yeah, let's get into the replay and let's stop talking over spreadsheets. So there we go. If you don't like the format, make sure to comment on it. If you think there's too much mumbling about nothing, I have doubts about that as well. So if you think that, then go ahead and leave a comment about that, and I'll try to make the video shorter. Whatever, let's get into the replay. Parlor playing with Zircon and Snooze. Zircon playing the Death Star, Snooze playing the 57 Heavy. Before the action starts, let's read the last bit of spreadsheet for you here. 2,100 hit points, pretty good for a Frenchie. 65 kilometer top speed, forwards. Not gonna reach it on the flat too often, but downhill it can be useful. 20 kilometers speed limit backwards, a bit below 20 horsepower per ton ratio. 36-degree traverse on the turret and the hull. 400 meter view range, which is pretty good for coated optics. The gun, 257 penetration, 400 average damage. Gold penetration is 325, which is really good. Magazine is obviously 4 shots. Reload between shots 2.5 seconds. Aiming time 2.5 seconds. Accuracy 0.35, which makes this gun way superior these days than the 57 Heavy in regards to accuracy and aiming. Elevation -8 and +12. Really good elevation depression for the French tank, and expected to be really poor gun elevation. So first engagement, E100, you don't want to take a shot from that at the start of the game, so I'm trying to play really cautiously and not get shot in the face. He starts looking at me, I pull back and he misses, so I have time for another shot, but since that fucker is looking at me, that's never gonna happen. Bait out 2 of the enemy shots, don't get shot and do some damage. That's a decent magazine in my book. So what are the base guidelines you need to stick to if you want to be successful in the 50B? So first of all, you always need to have cover. Is it teammates or is it a rock? It doesn't matter. You always need to have cover to reload behind. You cannot commit so far that you cannot fall back. And here, this is some pretty good timing for me. Just about reloaded. Hard roll into fire, and the 54 is dead. The second part is what you saw at the start. Never take bad trades. I mean, getting shot by an E100 to deliver 3 shots is barely worth it. Delivering 2 shots is definitely not worth it. And 3 shots you could argue. Now a pattern, first shot into track, second shot into retrack. He was slow on repair kit. Usually people can get away from a 50B when it's trying to retrack people. Patton shoots the rock, Snooze is gonna finish him off. He will have enough shells even though he missed the first one. And that's GG for the Patton. Another thing, whenever possible, shoot the tracks on of your enemies. If they use a repair kit, try to retrack them right after, just as you saw here. It's always worth it to wait like split second to a second after you have fired your first shot and you're ready to fire the second one, just to see if your enemy is going to use that repair kit or not. Because if you track him again, you'll be able to put at least another shot, if not 2, into it. It depends on how many shells you have in the mag. Obviously, if you don't have, if you're on the last shell, it doesn't matter, but it can be really useful. And another thing that's important, keep yourself, don't try to pin yourself down in a flank. That is a really bad thing to do. I mean, 50B cannot tank on its own, and when you're stuck in a flank like this where there's high tier TDs, nobody's gonna want to take the shot, so it's better to move around the map freely and to take the shots that you can, to take the opportunities that you can, instead of just sitting on one flank and waiting for the opportunities to arrive to you. And yeah, Leopard prototype, by the way, very strong armor on that tank, as you can clearly see. 2 bounces, 1 pen. I cry every time. The equipment on 50B just the same as on the 5120 and the 5100. Coated optics, word stabs, and ventilation. Crew skill wise, repair obviously good, 6th sense without even saying, and then everything that helps aiming, so smooth ride, snapshot, all the good stuff really. Nothing too special about it. So let's see if we can get the kill on the Leopard, and it seems that we can, which is great success. So now the flank, the circle on the zone is gonna get pushed. Snooze died already, so they are going to be pushing forwards. They need to kill 2 E75s and then circle on his own. And I can't save him, but I can do damage there. It's always important when something is getting rushed, you can always do free damage. Just make sure that you can retreat after that, or make sure that you kill enough shit for them to not be able to rush you anymore, which is really important. So first of all, killing the tank I can, which is the Turtus. I can't kill T3 with my mag, so I'm not even gonna bother. I'm gonna track him though, so he cannot shoot me, and I7 should be good with him now. Another thing 50B is good at is when your team is getting rushed, you can deliver a lot of unexpected damage, especially if you haven't been spotted in the area the enemies are about to push in. Same goes with when you have a really bad teammate that is doing something really stupid, you can always just go in there and do 1600 damage and let the moron tank for you. So another enemy that arrived just was when I was reloaded, stock turret, it doesn't really matter. Shots like that are gonna pen the top turret as well. He's dead now, and we have 2 enemies left, the 5120 that hasn't even been spotted, and the Object 430 that is spotted. Since the 5120 has a kill, he has to be somewhere behind the 430 there, so that's where I'm gonna go. So the reload of the drum on the 50B is around 27 seconds, depends on your crew and your equipment. DPM is pretty poor, but then again it has an autoloader, so it has that potential 1600 damage on the spot. And with the buffed aim time now, the tank fires as fast as it aims, so as long as you aim your first shot, all the rest of your shots are gonna be aimed as well. So this tank actually support aiming the first shot fully when you're actually shooting at range. When it doesn't matter, obviously don't bother. And as you can see, 50B moves around the map pretty nicely. I mean, climbing hills is obviously a pain in the ass, but once you get the on a flat ground or a slight downhill, it picks up speed really fast, and it goes faster than some medium tanks. Going to hunt the 5120 now. I cannot clip him if I don't set him on fire or ammo rack him, so we'll have to see how it turns out. He can clip me if he rolls lucky, but then again, we'll see what happens. Another thing you should do as much as possible is relocate in this tank. It's always much more effective to deliver a surprise attack in a tank like this than to sit on one flank and just stare somebody down. When you get a drop on somebody, it's gonna be full potential. And there we go, 5120, full health. He didn't fire back, so I'll assume that he's reloading for now. Put 2 shots into him, he's still not responding to me. And now he's running forwards, which means that he's reloaded. First shot of his doesn't do any damage. Second shot of his bounces off the hull. Third shot, not even gonna happen. Ramming is something you can do when you're a bit short on damage. Don't rely on it, but that is something you can do. That guy was not very skilled. He shot me once in the track and once in the upper plate. Another thing that can happen in this tank, the shots can bounce off the upper plate into your turret, which is quite unfortunate, but then again you have to get used to that because the turret is made out of shit. Can I get a top gun? Probably not. Probably IS-7 is gonna be there before me. Whatever. Pentakill is good enough, and the game is over. So here's the endplate. 4,184 experience, high caliber, ace, tanker, 4,000 obviously with the double. Team score, you can see 1,395 base experience. IS-7 did a pretty good job as well. And in detail report we can see that 23 shots fired, 22 hits, 18 penetrations. Not the best penetration rate, but the accuracy was fine, and damage done 6,999. 2,335 assisted as well. 73k profit, which is pretty damn good for tier 10 heavy. Whatever. Hope you guys enjoyed this review. I hope you enjoy the new format. If you don't, let me know. And if you do, let me know. And if this is the 50B worth the grind, hell yeah it is. And I will see you on the next one.